it's real clear to those who have their eyes open. My dad used to say he was resting his eyes also. And a lot of people are resting their eyes. Glenn, it is clear as day. When I was doing my radio show for the last 5 years, that's when my eyes became more opened.
Why?
Just like because I looked at the issues more than just what was on the surface, I had to look a little deeper and look a little deeper. And the deeper I looked at the issues and what wasn't being done in Washington, D.C., and some of the things that were being done, like forcing legislation down the throats of the American people, it's scary. So yes, it is as clear as day.
Are we? Tell me where you stand on President Obama's speech on the 1967 lines.
I believe that he threw Israel under the bus. Secondly, I believe it was discourteous, knowing that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was going to be here 2 days later, to do that and then have him in Washington, D.C. It's rather hypocritical.
And then leave.
And then leave. I even had a reporter ask me, did I think that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, was he rude to the president after he gave him a tongue lashing in the White House?
Right.
I said, no. He had every right to let the president know how he felt about saying what he said when he said it.
When the president says the Muslim Brotherhood, it's not a problem. Oh, I'm sorry, the Freedom and Justice Party.
Yes.
Not a problem. They a problem?
It's a problem.
Why?
Been a problem from the beginning because it's a terrorist organization. They can change the name all they want to, but it's not going to change their stripes.
You're going to get heat because I've already seen it. You get heat because you said in response to a question, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but this is the way it's being spun. You said you would not appoint a Muslim to anybody in your administration.
The exact language was, when I was asked, would you be comfortable with the Muslim in your cabinet? And I said, no, I would not be comfortable. I didn't say I wouldn't appoint one, because if they can prove to me that they are putting the Constitution of the United States first, then they would be a candidate just like everybody else. My entire career, I've hired good people, great people, regardless of their religious orientation.
So wait a minute, are you saying that it is that Muslims have to prove there has to be some loyalty proof?
Yes. To the Constitution of the United States of America.
Well, would you do that to a Catholic, or would you do that to a Mormon?
Nope, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Because there is a greater dangerous part of the Muslim faith than there is any of these other religions. I know that there are some Muslims who talk about, but we are a peaceful religion. And I'm sure that there are some peace-loving Muslims.
I know them. I know them.
I know some too.
Yeah, okay.
I absolutely do. So this isn't casting a label on all Muslims. When that guy asked me that question in the middle of a rapid-fire Q&A session in Iowa, it came out of nowhere, number one. Let me tell you what was in the back of what I immediately thought of, which is why I answered the way that I did. I heard Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu give a speech a few months after 9/11/2001. And I will never forget what he said in that speech. So that's my point of reference. Number one, terrorism is going to last a long time. He said, this is what Americans have got to learn. And he said, number two, they want to kill all of you. No question. That wasn't great. That was real clear.
So your Constitution thing is because of the Sharia law, which everyone denies is happening, but we see Sharia law being creeping into our society.
Yes, and people are denying it. Are you familiar with what happened in Oklahoma in 2008? They had on the ballot in Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. 2008, they had it on the ballot. 70% of the voters said no Sharia law in Oklahoma courts. Then the local unit of CAIR, Council of American Islamic Relations, got a federal judge to issue an injunction to prevent carrying out the law.
Okay, so how do you, because people hear this at home and all they do is they get frustrated.
Yes.
Because 70%, I mean, I get frustrated because really the 30% who said no, Sharia law is cool.
Yeah.
But 70% say that, then it's overturned and nothing can happen. And so it's like the Wiener thing I said yesterday on the show. What difference does it make to you? What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Everybody sits around and they whine about it and they say, well, they're all, and nothing changes. And so you get angry.
Yes.
So what does the average person do? when they hear something like that?
What the average person should do is they should write letters to their editors of their newspapers if they still read them, because as you know, a lot of them aren't reading them. They should make their opinions known. But here's one of the biggest things that they can do, which is what's happening in this country. Get active with somebody, with some organization. Don't just sit there, do something. This is one of the reasons that I was inspired to consider running for president of the United States of America.
Back in just a second. In the next few days, I think I'm going to show you a few people that I find inspiring and that I think you should consider for president. Some I agree with, some I don't. Herman Cain is one of them. And the things that I have heard come out of your mouth, I agree with. I want to we were just talking in the break that I asked if you believe that our allies have changed, that this president is changing the very landscape of who are allies. Great Britain, yes. Does he consider them an ally, really?
I don't think so. He sent back the bust.
Bust, yeah.
Okay.
Israel?
Absolutely not. He threw them under the bus.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
If Israel were attacked, do you think we would defend them?
Not with this president. Not with this president. And I have gone on the record to say that if I'm president of the United States of America, if Israel is attacked, you have attacked the United States of America. That's how strongly I feel about building the relationship.
Why do you feel strongly?
I feel strongly about it because Israel has been our most consistent ally and friend in that part of the world. We have shared values in terms of human rights. We have shared values in terms of religious beliefs. We have so much in common with Israel, and they have really stood courageously in that part of the world, surrounded by their enemies. And oh, by the way, speaking of courage, you're going to be doing Restoring Courage in Israel. I'm going to be there with you.
You're going to come?
Yes, I'm coming. Yes. Look,
Herman Cain, what a man.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Look, I love the fact that you're going to do Restoring Courage in Israel, which has been one of the most courageous nations on the planet.
Yeah.
We need some courage back here at home.
Do you think people understand that? Do you agree that Israel is a keystone?
Yes, yes.
And you pull that out and the West collapse?
Collapse.
Okay.
Because then all of the attention, instead of being on trying to destroy Israel and, you know, rattling the sabers and this all, then they're going to redirect all of that hate.
Right.
They're going to redirect all that hate.
You were a Fed president of the Fed, chairman of the Fed.
Yes.
In which one? Kansas City. Kansas City.
Yes.
Which I'm really kind of dicey about, and I want to talk to you about that later.
Right.
So you can read the tea leaves and see what's going on around the world.
Yes.
Europe about to fall? Economically?
Yes. It's getting weaker. The only question is how fast would it fall?
Okay.
Started with Greece. Mm-hmm. Now you got other problems in some of the other countries. And what's going to happen is it's going to depend upon how they choose to deal with the problem. So it's headed in that direction.
Unemployment now is 9.1. We were promised it would never go over 8 or 8.8 if we do all of the things that we have done now.
Yes.
It's 9.1. Things are getting weaker here in America. Would you agree?
I agree?
I believe it's intentionally being made weak. Do you?
I do too also.
Texas created 38% of all of the jobs in the last year. 38% of all the jobs in America created in Texas. Except we're going, that's the state the president continually throws under the bus.
Right.
Why is that?
Because this president, unfortunately, has no clue, with all due respect, of what creates jobs. Right to work states, lower taxes, lower regulations, no government mandates. Texas has one of the most business-friendly environments in this country.
You know, one of the best things about Texas is it tells its state government to go home, come back every other year.
Now, I was about to say, that's another reason Texas is doing so well.
Exactly right.
They meet once every 2 years, and then they go home. They get out of Dodge.
And people would say here that in America, you can't do that. They'd say, well, what are they going to do? I don't know. Texas is getting it done.
They are getting it done. And a lot of other states, you know, in Georgia, where I reside now, they meet once a year, but it's for a limited amount of time, and then they go home. I think that we probably need to do that in Washington, D.C.
I think President Obama is actually working on that plan to send Congress home. They're almost irrelevant as it is.
But it's one of the most business. It's not rocket science, Glenn.
Yeah, I know.
The reason that my message has been resonating with people because I've been talking about common sense solutions, and that's what's resonating with people. It's common sense. If you create business-friendly environments, like we need to do for this entire country, this is why the economic approach that I have been talking about, talking to people around the country, lower top corporate tax rates, lower the individual tax rates, make it 25% maximum. That happens to coincide with what's in Ryan's plan, but we didn't corroborate on it. It just makes sense. Suspend taxes on repatriated foreign profits. Take capital gains taxes to zero. Zero. Don't compromise somewhere in the middle. We need it at zero, and here's why. This economy is not going to come out of this stale level that we are, this stagnant, anemic growth, in the next year and 6 months. President Obama's senior advisor, Austin Goolsbee, was on a TV show Sunday, and I followed him. He was sitting there very uncomfortably trying to defend why that 9.1 number is there. And he made a statement that is true, that a lot of people didn't even pick up on. He said, and I quote, "The private sector is going to have to lead this recovery." And he's absolutely right.
That's why he's leaving the Obama administration.
That's why he's leaving the administration, because it's not in the DNA of this president or this administration to lower taxes, reduce regulations.
They do not believe in the private sector.
They don't believe in the private sector.
Right.
No, they do not believe in the private sector.
That's why they say the most important jobs that they can create are government jobs.
Are government jobs.
Yeah.
And we have seen what $1 trillion has done in terms of that. It made government bigger, created some more government jobs, but it did not stimulate this economy.
When we come back, I want to talk to you a little bit about GM, because GM, the head of GM, made one of the most amazing comments I've ever seen anybody make. And he said that there should be $1 a gallon gas tax put on gasoline. That's the president of GM that just got all of our money.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that here in just a second.
Yes.
All right, the average cost for a gallon of gas is now $3.75. That's more than $1 than it cost you a year ago. Apparently, that's not good enough for our good friends at GM. Your tax dollars went to bail out. Nope. According to their CEO, Dan Ackerson, they are now pushing for higher gas prices. The government is thinking about approving up to a 6% increase in annual fuel efficiency levels, which means the cost of cars will go up by $3,500. But Ackerson has a better idea. He said, quote, "You know what I'd rather have them do, and this will make my Republican friends puke. As gas has got to go down here now, we ought to just slap a 50-cent or $1 tax on a gallon of gas." I'm sorry, Dan, the recipient of all of those tax dollars, only your Republican friends, they're the only ones that buy gas? Because I've seen your crappy new electric car, nobody's buying it. I think some of your crappy Democratic friends are buying that crappy car too. A 50-cent gas tax would make everyone puke. $1 might make me puke my heart and lungs.